And here we go. Another crazy week to follow another crazy week to follow another crazy week and month. September was absolutely unbelievable. The whipsaw that we had Friday, just indicative of what we'd seen throughout the month of September. Unbelievable. At one point on Friday, the Dow was actually up more than 100 points. Finished the day on the absolute lows, and we finished the day 500 points to the downside. Not so great. We also had a pretty decent push on the NASDAQ as well, down about 160 points, about 1.5%. So that was getting hit. Then we also take a look at what was going on with crude oil. That was hit by a couple of percent to the downside. It was underneath 80 once again. You had the volatility index, even though we were going into the weekend, kind of creeping up there towards 32, not quite at 32 yet. Had a long discussion with a very good friend over the weekend about exactly this. He had heard and read somewhere that the reason that we weren't going up in volatility had something to do with, and this is the problem oftentimes, folks. I'll give you a quick education on the volatility index. Volatility index, it's called the fear index. The reality is more in the fact of what is it measuring? Measuring the movement of the S&P 500. S&P 500 has generally been moving a little bit less than, but very close to about 2% per day, right? We can all probably agree on that. That is a 32 VIX. That gives you the idea of why the VIX is where it is, as opposed to folks out there that are saying, well, you know, there's all these calls up there and all the rest of this. That is not the case. It is where the measure is right now because of the movement that we have had all month through September and this rise that we've gotten up over 30. And we will see how long that holds on. Having a pretty big day today. We'll see how that plays out. But we did also have the volatility index of the NASDAQ up near 38, but we actually pulled back, finished around 36, pricing in that weekend most likely. 2-year around a 4.27. You had the 10-year right at a 3.82. Gives you an idea of where we were. Everybody's been looking more and more at this. We've been highlighting this for a long time. It is the 10-year. It's a 2-year to some degree, and it is definitely the 10-year that people are staring at each and every day to try to give some sort of an idea of the movements of the markets and where they want to be positioned. Volumes extremely strong, almost 48 million contracts in the derivatives world. Those options were absolutely flying on Friday. So that was definitely a part that the participation is there. And that's where we've seen that throughout the month of September, a monster month for option trading. Unbelievable. Now, technology down nearly 2%. Microsoft, Apple, Google, all contributing to that. We had consumer discretion down nearly 2%. Target, Walmart, Costco, Best Buy, all those names getting hit pretty decent to the downside. We had the staples. That has no longer been a place for people to hide. Staples also down nearly 2%. You look at Procter, you look at Clorox, you look at Colgate, those kind of names getting hit a little bit. You also had energy down about 1%. Look right at the big boys. They were pulling down a little bit. You had Exxon, you had Chevron, you had ConocoPhillips. Financials down about 1%. BlackRock, one of those names leading to the downside, along with Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. So it's not just the banks, but it's the investment banks as well getting hit just a little bit. You had Twitter with a little bit of a move to the upside. Generac, based upon all of what we were seeing going down in Florida. Certainly the prayers go out to everybody affected by so much of what was going down in Florida with Ian last week and the Carolinas and that little bit movement up the coast. Unbelievable to watch that whole thing. Public storage, another one of those areas that had a little bit of a decent day. Some of those Chinese names actually lifted up as well with PDD and NetEase. But there was a lot more going to the downside. We just went through all the sectors, but how about those cruise ships? They just continue to just absolutely disappoint beyond words in terms of stock performance and where they are and how they've returned where they were on the lows of the pandemic. Just can't seem to be able to get any footing at all. Down 13% up to 23% across the board. You had Royal, you had Carnival, you had Norwegian, all of them getting pushed down. Of course, Nike, we already covered that last week, but Nike down, oh, well, what, about 13% or so. Then Lulu was getting dragged down about 7%. Apple not participating very well with markets at all. It's just been going down of late, down about 3%. You also throw in Boeing, throw in Disney, throw in IBM. You get the idea. It was a rough day. We were down 500 plus points. Today, a little bit brighter. We started off up about 100 points in the pre-market, up about 40 on the NASDAQ. Those numbers have absolutely exploded now to the upside in the first hour. We had the NASDAQ up about 150 points. We had the Dow up. We were up 260. We were up 300. We were up 400. We were up 450. Last I looked, 5.25 to the upside. So a racing Friday. Pretty nice to see a little bit of that, at least for now. We also had crude oil at about 83. Then it was up about 84. Eased back just a little bit, but crude oil definitely on the rise right now. 2-year starting to pull back. 10-year starting to pull back. That 2-year just above 4 at a 406. You got the 10-year sitting down there at about a 362. Let's not forget, we were just at 4% on the 10-year not too many trading sessions ago, just last week. Had the volatility index. Yes, it was creeping up early, up around 32. That has pulled back, just barely holding on to 30 last I looked. It might even be below 30 at this point in time. You have that volatility index of the NASDAQ, that the VXN. That's trading right around 37, but that's easing back a little bit. Nat gas pulling back towards 6.5, maybe getting even a little bit lower than that. We did have the Dow closed underneath 29,000, which was the lowest close since November of 2020. Gives you a little idea of just how much selling, the pressure from September, the pressure from last week and those previous weeks, but last week, and the closeout that we had as well. We had those delivery numbers coming out of Tesla. Not quite up to where people expected. The numbers were great year over year, but the problem was the expectations were even higher than what was delivered, despite the fact that it was incredible growth. That's a stock that's under a little bit of pressure. We got a lot more to talk about Tesla in just a second here. We also have energy. It was up 4% right out of the gate, up nearly 4.5% last I looked. Materials up almost 2%. Those are up 3% now. Communications up over 1%, now nearly 2.5%. You get the idea. It's participation across the board when we go on those downside moves like we did on Friday. Same thing is true of these upside moves. A great participation. Financials were up nearly 1%. They're up about 2.25, maybe even a little bit better than that. Technology, same story. Industrials, same story. Although those are up even more than 2.5% last I looked. Pretty impressive rally back, bounce back. You look at those beta energy names, we talk about them all the time, whether it's APA or a Devon or a Marathon Oil or Halliburton or ConocoPhillips, all of those names having a monstrous move to the upside, definitely an influence on the markets right now. You have Zscaler, you got Datadog, you've got Lulu with a little bit of a bounce back today. Chevron, Dow, Home Depot, Caterpillar. It's almost fatiguing. Then you look over at Tesla and you say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You look at Apple, you say, whoa, not everything is great. You look at Tesla, down about 6% today. That's just follow through even from a little bit of what we've seen of late. As a matter of fact, cruise ships under pressure. Once again, we talk about that a lot. We also have the airlines under pressure with Delta and United and Southwest all under in the red territory, along with Nike. Nike not being able to find its footing at all since that earnings. Terrible. It's been a bad move for Nike, at least for now. We'll see if there's any reason for that to start to make any kind of a turn to the upside. Markets starting off strong in this first hour. We'll see if we're able to hold on to that. We've seen these kind of moves in the past. We'll see if this is sustainable throughout the session, but a lot of different factors working into that right now. So lastly, I've got unusual for you. How about Tesla? Talked about it multiple times already. Tesla under pressure today. Stock was trading at the time of this trade somewhere between 247 all the way up to about 250. So along that little range is where it was trading while they were buying puts, and they bought 18,000 puts that expire this Friday. They're the 250 puts, so they were right at the money at the start of some of this trading. Stock did slip a little bit more. I'm not sure where it is right now. Those options were going anywhere from, call it $5.50, close to $10. So we'll split it and say a little over $7 is what they were trading for these options. They've got to make a move, but we know how Tesla can move, and the moves that we see on a day in and day out basis. Are they buying protection, or is this a play for more downside based on what was people are looking at as a negative number for those deliveries that they got? And we also know what Elon Musk has been saying about some of the different areas around the world that he's been so excited about. Now he's talking about how they're almost a cash burn area for him. So a little bit of frustration coming from Elon, but those October 7th expiring 250 puts, those were the unusual today, 18,000 of those trading. Folks, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on the Rebel's Edge at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Should be a lot of fun. John's going to be joining me, of course. We're going to be hitting the macro minute. We're also going to be hitting 4 of the biggest trades that we think of the day of what's going on. We're also going to give you 2 unusuals and a little bit of sports as well. We already got that all ready to go. So looking forward to seeing you 1 p.m., the Rebels Edge. Folks, have a great day of trading.